Tell me something honestly. If a stranger walked out of a storm, saved everything you had left, would you call it luck? Or something you were never meant to understand? Because that's exactly what happened to him. A man who had built everything from nothing. A rancher who trusted no one but himself. And on the worst night of his life, when the storm came for everything he owned, she appeared. Not running. Not afraid. Not asking for help. Just walking. Through wind that knocked men off their feet. Through rain that blinded even the strongest hands. And somehow, the cattle followed her. He saw it with his own eyes. Animals that had been panicking minutes before. Stampeding, breaking fences. Suddenly calm. Still. As if something, or someone, had spoken to them. And that's when the fear began. Not of the storm. But of her. Because nothing about it made sense. She didn't shout. Didn't chase them. Didn't even touch them. Yet they listened. So now I'll ask you. Was she a miracle? Or was she something the storm brought with it? Because by the end of this story, you won't just be wondering who she is. You'll be asking why she came. And what she took with her when she left. The storm didn't start like a warning. It started like something ordinary. A distant rumble. A shift in the wind. The kind of change a seasoned rancher notices, but doesn't fear. He had seen storms before. Stronger than this. Or so he thought. By nightfall, everything changed. The wind turned violent. Not just strong, unpredictable. It howled across the land like it was searching for something. Tearing through fences. Ripping loose anything not anchored deep. The cattle felt it first. They always did. Before the rain even came down. They started moving. Restless. Uneasy. Then panicked. He ran out into the open fields, shouting over the wind. Trying to steady them. Trying to control something that no longer wanted to be controlled. Easy. Easy. But they didn't listen. The first fence broke. Then another. And just like that, order turned into chaos. The herd scattered. Some toward the trees. Some toward the river. Some straight into the storm itself. And that's when the rain came. Hard. Blinding. Relentless. He could barely see 5 steps ahead. Mud swallowed his boots with every step. The wind pushed against him like it wanted him gone. But he didn't stop. Because everything he had, everything he built, was out there. Disappearing. Minutes felt like hours. And then, he saw them. Through the rain. Through the chaos. A part of the herd. Running. Fast. Out of control. If they reached the ridge, it was over. He pushed forward. Fighting the storm. Heart pounding. Voice gone from shouting. And then, he saw something that didn't belong. A figure. Walking. Not running. Not struggling. Walking. At first, he thought it was his eyes. The storm playing tricks. But no. She was real. A woman. Moving straight into the storm. Like it wasn't touching her at all. And behind her, the impossible happened. The cattle slowed. Not all at once. But enough to make him stop. Enough to make him stare. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't wave her arms. Didn't chase them. She just kept walking. And one by one, they followed. The storm was still raging. The wind still screaming. But around her, There was something else. Calm. And for the first time that night, the rancher didn't move. Didn't shout. Didn't think. He just watched. Because whatever he was looking at wasn't something he could explain. He didn't call out to her. Not at first. Because something about the way she moved made it feel like interruption wasn't allowed. The storm still raged. Rain hit the ground like it was trying to bury everything alive. Wind tore through the trees behind her. And yet, she walked like none of it mattered. The cattle followed. Not tightly. Not perfectly. But willingly. That was the part that didn't sit right. Cattle don't follow strangers. They panic. They scatter. They resist. But not now. He stepped closer. Slowly. Carefully. Like approaching something that could vanish if he moved too fast. Hey! His voice cracked through the storm. She didn't turn. Hey! Louder this time. Still nothing. But the cattle reacted. They shifted. Just slightly. Like his voice disturbed something fragile. And that's when she stopped. Not because of him. But because the herd behind her had settled. Then, slowly, she turned. For a moment. Everything else disappeared. The storm. The noise. The panic. All he saw was her. Her face wasn't afraid. Wasn't relieved. Wasn't even curious. It was, still. You shouldn't be out here, he said, catching his breath. No answer. That storm's not done yet. Still nothing. But her eyes. They stayed on him. Not searching. Not questioning. Just, seeing. And for some reason, that unsettled him more than the storm ever could. Then she spoke. One sentence. Quiet. Almost lost in the wind. They're safe now. He looked behind her. The cattle. Still. Calm. How did you? But the question died before it finished. Because he already knew. There wasn't going to be an answer that made sense. When he looked back at her, she had already turned again. And started walking. Not toward the house. Not toward shelter. Toward the deeper part of the land. Where the storm was still strongest. Wait. He stepped forward. But something stopped him. Not physically. Not visibly. Just a feeling. Like following her wasn't his choice to make. And for the first time in years, he let something go. He didn't follow. He just stood there. Watching her disappear into rain and darkness. With his cattle safe behind him, by morning, it was over. The sky cleared like nothing had happened. Sunlight stretched across the land. Quiet. Too quiet. But the damage was real. Fences torn apart. Mud everywhere. Broken posts scattered like they'd been thrown. And yet, the cattle were there. All of them. Not scattered. Not injured. Not missing. That didn't happen. Not after a storm like that. He walked through them slowly. Counting. Checking. Looking for anything that made sense. Nothing did. They were calm. Too calm. Like the storm had never touched them. He stopped near the center of the field. Turned. Looked toward where he last saw her. Nothing. No footprints. No sign. Not even a direction. "Who are you?" he muttered. Because now it wasn't just strange. It was impossible. He asked around town later that day. Described her. The way she looked. The way she moved. No one knew her. No one had seen her. One old man just shook his head. "Storms don't just take things," he said. "They bring things too." That didn't sit well. Because if she came with the storm, then she didn't just show up. She arrived. 3 nights later. The storm didn't crash in like before. It crept back. Quiet. Almost careful. The wind moved first. Soft, but wrong. Not wild. Not chaotic. Controlled. That was what woke him. Not the sound. The feeling. He sat up in bed, staring into the dark. Something wasn't right. Then came the distant thunder. Low. Rolling. Like something breathing beneath the sky. He didn't hesitate this time. Didn't question it. Didn't wait. He grabbed his coat and stepped outside. The air was colder. Sharper. The kind of cold that settles in your chest before you even realize it. The ranch stretched out before him. Still. Too still. And then. The cattle. They weren't panicking. They weren't moving. They were gathered. Standing in one direction. Watching. His chest tightened. Because they weren't looking at him. They were looking past him, slowly. He turned. And there she was. Standing at the far edge of the field. Exactly where the storm had broken them days before. Same stillness. Same calm. Like she had never left. He walked toward her. Step by step. Boots sinking slightly into damp earth. "You came back." No answer. "You knew it would happen again, didn't you?" The wind shifted. But she didn't. "You were waiting for it." Still nothing. He stopped a few feet away now. Close enough to see her clearly. No fear. No urgency. No concern. Just that same quiet presence. "You shouldn't be here," he said, more firmly this time. Her response came slow. Measured. "Neither should you." The words hit harder than they should have. "What does that mean?" She didn't look at him. Not immediately. Instead, she looked toward the horizon. The storm clouds were forming again. But not like before. They weren't spreading. They were gathering. Focused. "The storm isn't the danger," she said quietly. He frowned. "What are you talking about?" A long pause. Then. She turned to him. And this time. There was something different in her eyes. Not emotion. But warning. "You just haven't seen it yet." The wind rose slightly. Carrying her words away. But not their meaning. And for the first time since she appeared. He felt it. Not confusion. Not curiosity. Fear. He didn't go back inside that night. Didn't sleep. Didn't even try. Because her words stayed with him. The storm isn't the danger. Then what was? By morning. The sky was clear again. Too clear. Like the storm had never existed. But something had changed. He felt it the moment he stepped outside. Not in the air. Not in the land. In the silence. The cattle were already awake. Standing. Moving slowly. But not grazing. Watching. Their heads turned in the same direction. The tree line. His stomach tightened. He walked toward them. Slowly at first. Then faster. Something wasn't right. He counted. Once. Twice. Then stopped. One missing. Just one. But after everything, that wasn't possible. He followed the tracks. Fresh. Leading straight toward the woods. Each step heavier than the last. The deeper he went, the quieter it became. Until even the wind stopped. And then, he saw her. Standing between the trees. And beside her, the missing animal. But this time, it wasn't calm. It was shaking. Breathing fast. Eyes wide. Afraid. His chest tightened. Because this was different. This wasn't control. This was something else. "What did you do?" he demanded. She didn't react. Didn't move. "It doesn't belong here anymore," she said quietly. The words didn't make sense. "What are you talking about?" Now she looked at him. And for the first time, there was something in her expression. Not cold. Not distant. Certain. It was never yours. Anger rose instantly. Sharp. Defensive. "That's my herd." "Most of it," she corrected. Silence fell between them. Heavy. Uncomfortable. You don't just walk onto someone's land and decide what belongs to them. "No," she said softly. A pause. "That decision was made long before you." The animal behind her shifted. Still afraid. But not of her. Of something else. Something he couldn't see. "Why are you here?" he asked again. This time quieter. "And this time," she answered, "to return what doesn't belong." The air didn't move the same way anymore. It wasn't just quiet. It was, watching. He stood there at the edge of the trees, staring at her as the last of the morning light filtered through the branches. "What do you mean it's not mine?" he asked again. This time slower. More controlled. Because something in him already knew. He wasn't going to like the answer. She didn't step back. Didn't avoid his gaze. "You built this place," she said calmly. "Every fence. Every post. Every acre you claimed." Her voice wasn't accusing. That made it worse. "But not everything here came with it." His jaw tightened. "That herd is mine." "Most of it," she repeated. The words hung there. Heavy. Unwelcome. Behind her, the animal shifted again. Still uneasy. Still, out of place. He looked at it carefully now. Really looked. There was nothing different about it. Same markings. Same build. Same as the others. But something felt off. Not in the animal. In him. Like a memory he couldn't quite reach. "When did you take it?" she asked. The question caught him off guard. "I didn't take anything." "You did," she said quietly. "No," he snapped. "I raised them. Fed them. Protected them." "And before that?" Silence. Because before that, he didn't know. He had bought the herd years ago. Expanded it. Grew it. But he had never questioned where every single one came from. Never needed to. Until now. The wind moved again. Soft. But colder. "Some things don't stay where they belong," she said. "They get moved. Traded. Taken." Her eyes stayed on him. Steady. Unforgiving. "And sometimes, they're not meant to stay." His chest tightened. "This is my land." "No," she said. That word landed harder than anything else. "You're just the one standing on it." The silence that followed felt endless. For the first time, he didn't have an answer. Didn't have control. Didn't have certainty. The animal behind her let out a low, uneasy sound. Then, slowly, it stepped closer to her. Not out of fear. Out of trust. That was the part that broke something in him. Because it had never done that with him. Not once. He swallowed hard. "Why you?" he asked. A long pause. Then, "Because I listen." The simplicity of it didn't make it easier. If anything, it made it worse. Because now he understood. This wasn't about strength. Or ownership. Or control. It was about something he had never considered. Connection. She stepped back again. And this time, the animal didn't hesitate. It followed her. One step. Then another. Deeper into the trees. Away from him. He could have stopped it. Should have. Every instinct told him to. But he didn't move. Because deep down, he knew. Stopping it wouldn't change anything. It would just prove her right. So he stood there. Watching. As they disappeared into the forest. And for the first time since he built everything he had. He felt it. Not loss. Not anger. Something else. Something quieter. Something harder to admit. He had never truly owned what he thought he did. And the storm didn't come to take from him. It came to show him that. So now I want to ask you something. If you were in his place, and you finally realized that not everything you owned was ever truly yours, would you fight to keep it? Or would you let it go? Because what happened here wasn't just a storm. And it definitely wasn't just about one animal. Something came to that land. Corrected something. And left. But here's the part no one is asking. What happens when it comes back? Because next time, it might not be just one. And next time, she might not be the only one who shows up. Tell me in the comments. Do you think she was protecting the land? Or preparing it for something else? And if you think this story ends here, it doesn't. Because in Series 2, the storm doesn't just return. Something comes with it. So make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because what happens next will change everything you thought you understood about this land.